In the quaint town of Silverbrook, nestled between rolling hills and ancient forests, lived a young girl named Clara. Clara was the only daughter of the town's baker, Mr. Henderson. The bakery was the heart of Silverbrook, and Clara, with her radiant smile and kind heart, was loved by everyone. Her life was simple, filled with the sweet aroma of freshly baked bread and the laughter of childhood friends. However, as she grew older, life's complexities began to unfold. At 17, Clara met Lucas, a young man who had just moved to Silverbrook to live with his aunt. Lucas was different from the boys in town. He was charming, with a rebellious streak that intrigued Clara. They spent hours talking about their dreams, their futures, and the world beyond Silverbrook. It wasn't long before Clara fell deeply in love with him. Their love was innocent at first, filled with stolen glances and secret notes. But as their bond grew stronger, so did their physical attraction. The small town of Silverbrook had its own set of rules, especially for girls like Clara, who were expected to uphold their family's honor. One summer evening, under the twinkling stars, Clara and Lucas gave in to their desires. It was a moment of passion, a moment that felt right in their hearts, but would soon spiral into a whirlwind of consequences. Weeks passed, and Clara began to notice changes in her body. She felt nauseous in the mornings. Her clothes became tighter, and an inexplicable fatigue weighed her down. Deep down, she knew what was happening, but fear kept her in denial. How could this have happened to her? She was a good girl, raised with strict moral values. The truth became undeniable when she missed her second period. Clara was pregnant. She finally mustered the courage to tell Lucas. They met in their usual spot, by the old oak tree on the outskirts of town. Clara's hands trembled as she spoke, tears streaming down her face. Lucas was shocked, but his reaction wasn't what Clara had hoped for. Instead of comforting her, he was distant, his mind racing with the implications. "We can't keep this baby, Clara," Lucas said, his voice laced with fear. "Our lives will be ruined. We're too young. We're not ready." Clara knew he was right, but the thought of ending the life growing inside her filled her with dread. Yet, the fear of societal shame and disappointing her family outweighed everything else. She was trapped in a situation where every option seemed wrong. In the days that followed, Clara's world crumbled around her. She couldn't focus on anything, haunted by the secret she carried. Her parents noticed her growing silence, but she couldn't bear to tell them the truth. She knew it would break their hearts. Lucas arranged for Clara to visit a nearby town where no one would recognize them. There, in a small, dimly lit clinic, she went through with the abortion. The procedure was quick, but the emotional pain was unbearable. Clara felt a part of her soul being ripped away. She wanted to scream, to cry out, but she remained silent, suppressing her pain as she had been taught to do all her life. Afterward, Lucas tried to comfort her, but things were never the same between them. The weight of their decision hung over them like a dark cloud. They drifted apart, unable to look at each other without being reminded of what they had lost. Clara returned to Silverbrook, but she was no longer the same girl. She walked through life like a ghost, the joy she once had extinguished. The bakery, once a place of warmth and happiness, now felt suffocating. She couldn't escape the guilt that gnawed at her, the sense that she had done something unforgivable. As months passed, Clara's emotional turmoil only deepened. She withdrew from her friends and family, consumed by the secret she couldn't share. The silence became her prison. She often found herself staring at the old oak tree, where her life had taken a turn she could never have anticipated. The guilt weighed heavily on her conscience, manifesting in nightmares and panic attacks. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had committed an unpardonable sin. The once kind and loving Clara had become a shadow of herself, burdened by the choices she had made. One evening, while cleaning the bakery, Clara overheard a conversation between two elderly women. They were discussing a young girl from another town who had been shunned after it was discovered she was pregnant out of wedlock. The women spoke with such disdain, calling the girl a disgrace and a burden on her family. Clara felt her heart race, her palms sweating. The women didn't know her secret, but their harsh words stung like a whip. She imagined them speaking about her parents, who would be shamed for raising such a daughter. It was in that moment that Clara realized the extent to which society's judgment had influenced her decisions. She had made a choice out of fear of rejection, fear of judgment, fear of ruining her family's reputation. But was that fear worth the cost of her own happiness, her own peace of mind? One day, Clara couldn't bear the silence any longer. She needed to talk to someone, to unburden herself of the guilt that was eating her alive. She decided to confide in the town's priest, Father Gregory, a kind and understanding man who had known Clara since she was a child. She walked into the church, her heart pounding. The dim light of the candles flickered as she approached the confessional booth. With trembling hands, she opened the door and stepped inside. The small space felt suffocating, but she knew she had to do this. "Father, I need to confess something," Clara began, her voice shaking. "I've done something terrible, something I can never undo." Father Gregory listened patiently as Clara poured out her heart. She told him everything about Lucas, the pregnancy, the abortion, and the overwhelming guilt she had been carrying. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke, her words tumbling out in a rush of pent-up emotion. When she finished, there was a long silence. Father Gregory took a deep breath before speaking. "Clara, we all make mistakes," he said gently. "It's a part of being human. What matters now is how you choose to move forward. You've carried this burden alone for too long. It's time to forgive yourself." "But how can I?" Clara sobbed. "I killed my own child. How can I ever forgive myself for that?" Father Gregory reached through the screen and took her hand. "Forgiveness is a process, Clara. It's not something that happens overnight. But you must start by accepting that you are not beyond redemption. Your mistake does not define you. You are more than this one decision." His words were like a balm to Clara's wounded soul. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope. She realized that she didn't have to carry this burden alone anymore. She had taken the first step toward healing by sharing her story, and that in itself was a form of redemption. Clara's journey to forgiveness was not an easy one. There were days when the guilt resurfaced, threatening to pull her back into the darkness. But she continued to seek solace in the church, finding comfort in Father Gregory's guidance and the quiet strength of her faith. She also began to reach out to her family, slowly letting them back into her life. Her parents, sensing that something had changed in Clara, were gentle and patient with her. They didn't press her for answers, but their unwavering love and support gave Clara the courage to keep moving forward. In time, Clara found herself volunteering at the local orphanage, helping children who had no families of their own. She channeled her pain into compassion, finding purpose in helping others. The children, with their innocent smiles and boundless energy, reminded her of the joy she had once felt in life. Through her work at the orphanage, Clara met a young girl named Lily, who had been abandoned at birth. Lily was quiet and shy, but there was something about her that drew Clara in. She saw in Lily a reflection of her own lost innocence, and she was determined to give the girl the love and care she deserved. As Clara spent more time with Lily, she began to heal. The love she had lost, the love she had denied herself, she now gave freely to this little girl. And in return, Lily gave Clara a sense of purpose, a reason to keep going. Clara's story is one of love, loss, and ultimately redemption. She made a mistake born out of fear and societal pressure. But she also learned that no mistake is beyond forgiveness, and that the path to healing begins with self-compassion. The lesson we can learn from Clara's story is that we are all human, and we all make choices we regret. But those choices do not have to define us. We have the power to seek redemption, to make amends, and to find peace within ourselves. Clara's journey was painful, but it led her to a place of love and understanding. She discovered that true strength lies not in hiding our mistakes, but in facing them head-on and learning to forgive ourselves. And in doing so, she found a way to turn her pain into something beautiful, something that could bring light to the lives of others. So, remember, when life's trials and tribulations seem overwhelming, when the weight of your decisions feels too heavy to bear, there is always hope. There is always a path to redemption, and it starts with the courage to forgive yourself,